All right, so welcome back to Inside the Metaverse, and today we're going to be talking about Metaverse gaming and growth, kind of where the market is leaning, and what this means to a lot of different businesses and industries, which are really starting to seep into not only applications, but use cases within the Metaverse. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Metaverse Insider. Let's jump into it today, and one of the stories that we're going to be jumping into is going to be on Yahoo. We've got a lot happening with Xbox, all that. So I thought, hey, let's get Mirko Dölger on from Unix Gaming to kind of guide us through this. So Mirko, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, Paul, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Every time I have you on, it's like you're in a different city.
Yeah, new background all the time. I know, Paul, but it's hopefully stop. By June, then I'm going to be full time back in Bali to focus on
I
the
got an
project.
idea. You carry you should carry a pop-up NFT. One of those pop-up like you put in a trade show booth, and just have it with you all the time. You pop it right behind you. Whatever NFT of the week flavor that you have, and then boom, you've got like a mobile studio for you.
Hey, that's a great idea, Paul. Thank you.
I like it. All right, so let's get into a couple of things. One is this first news story, and that is, of course, talking about Metaverse, how retail, real estate, and hospitality can benefit on this. This is something we've been kind of talking about here on the show a little bit more around retail aspects of use cases within these metaverses. Whether, I think a lot of it leans into the gaming components because we are going to see stuff obviously within Sandbox, Decentraland, and others. Now we've got Ape, which is essentially going to be creating a whole new arena around how brands and different kind of industries are really going in this direction. Do you think it's going to be more toward like an advertising application or more toward fan loyalty and brand awareness? What direction do you think some of these brands are going for Metaverse placement?
Yeah, I think that NFTs can represent in a very good way that like a membership card, for getting a discount here, for example, like credit cards, you can earn miles here, or shopping cards, what you can use in several stores. I think it's for a lot of projects. I think that's the road they can go, but of course you have different ways of expanding partnerships, especially in the gaming space. So if you have an NFT, basically, then you can participate in an open metaverses. So they open up maybe for several platforms where you can utilize your NFT. But I think for the retail market, there's pretty much a lot of huge opportunities. If you think about Starbucks announced also going into the metaverse, and Shopify accept NFTs. So there could be a very good synergy on all these projects.
Okay, so I've talked to a lot of different big brands in different industries, some in retail, some in food. One of the things that they're very, I guess, kind of leaning into, to your point, is the NFT component, but the element, at least from what I've gathered from our own meetings, is all been around loyalty, because they're trying to create something that creates that brand connection to a user. And the ability, obviously, with an NFT holder, that now you've got a whole new way to create rewards and loyalty applications. I guess in reality, it's just a high-priced or a potential ramped-up way to do a loyalty system, maybe with some of these brands. But the uniqueness, obviously, with the NFT component is going to be pretty interesting. Do you think real estate and fashion, because they talk about that in the Yahoo article, do you think real estate and fashion are equally as important in terms of growth sectors, or do you think it's mostly going to be in the retail brands that we'll see growth?
I think fashion is a huge market. If we get that connected, and Adidas already made a step in that direction, because if you think about VR shopping, or AR shopping, so there's a lot of connections on there. Real estate, I think, for showcasing projects, properties, I think this is something what is, or fractionize project buildings. I think this is something, but fashion is everybody's need clothes, and some people, especially the young generation, they're super focused on brands and having their strong partnerships with NFTs. I think that's the way to go. And then fashion is connecting people, societies, communities. So that's definitely, I think, the major market.
Yeah, bringing to an article here by Vogue, Metaverse fashion companies pulling in millions in funding. And there's a couple of new companies in this. Obviously, we've been tracking a handful, but there is a new project out there called Aglet that has been moving in this direction with fashion. And we had the Boson team on here recently on this show talking about Metaverse Fashion Week. We anticipate that we'll see much more growth next year for that. This year, I think it was a much more niche event. But do you think that we'll start to see the big brands really make the shift into this? And if so, is there one brand or another that you feel might lead the way?
I think Adidas has already stepped in, and Nike. So that's definitely, I think, the first brands, because it's like cool fashion sport. So I think that's a very good step. I believe that it's just a matter of time that, let's say, bigger brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, if these people they joining the metaverse, then I think it's a very good component adding to their portfolio, because their clothes many times are limited, right? So having then
Yep.
NFTs with representing anything or give you access to any stores or Gucci events, or a discount maybe for drops or whitelists for any special collection. I think this is the only way to go. I mean, this is like very easy to identify ownership on these projects.
Yeah, I was looking at this story. It says cultural leaders brought NFTs to a place where brand and marketing, cultural coolness were attached. Ryan David Mullins, who worked at Adidas, before founding this sneaker game, Aglet. This is one that we're going to talk about today. So you're right. You have companies that are already kind of going in this direction. I'm worried that, I guess I'm not worried. It's just that I look at these companies and I wonder how many, because many of the things I'm watching in the metaverse right now are defectors, people that were in big businesses or in big fashion brands that are starting to break out, do their own deal. I'm just kind of curious, how are they going to get access to some of the creative talent that it's going to take to kind of make that leap forward? Because you've got obviously developers required, a lot more of the strategic side from an NFT and metaverse gaming component that plays into this. Then they need partners, all that. I mean, I feel like there's a big lack of people that are kind of moving in that direction. So how do you think they're going to address that in terms of growth? Because obviously Aglet is a good example of how that has kind of moved out.
Yeah, I think that every bigger brand they need definitely very a strong advisor team in the crypto space, because it's hard to find basically for all the projects looking at the moment into NFT and crypto, and how to get forward. Let's, for example, Coinbase. It's a huge company, but they're not maybe all who working there crypto heavy, but they have a lot of skill
Right.
sets, or they have certain degrees what is qualifying them to work at Coinbase. But for, let's say, for the marketplace, it's what they're planning. They need really someone from the space, from the crypto culture, to get in there, because maybe it's misleading their launch, because the launch is
Yeah.
at the moment still crypto heavy. And while we transition maybe and it's not really, we say, crypto and traditional, if once we see it as mainstream, then I think then it's the knowledge arrived on many sides. So, but it's very important to get advice properly, and especially bigger brands, they need to invest, I would say, in a proper guidance into the market.
Yeah, the strategy I think is going to be really key with a lot of these to break out into, being able to set, kind of set the new tone for how they move into Web3. Let's talk about Microsoft for a second, reportedly looking into bringing ads to free-to-play Xbox games. Again, this goes back into the cycle of traditional gaming and how, commerce is now moving into that space. We've already seen this in blockchain, obviously with Play and Earn. But there's also the whole economic side of this. Do you think this hurts gaming overall, or do you think this opens up maybe some new opportunities?
I mean, ads is always a way to monetize your in Google, for example, is living from ads, or Facebook, the ad revenue, what they collect is huge. It's just a question if you maybe damage the brand. Depends on what ads. I think Microsoft, they promote, maybe if they're running ads about games, of course then it's one thing. But if you have now regular commercial, I don't know if this is the right place to address it. And why not having it done from the beginning? Yeah, but I think also ads are still will be part of also the metaverse. You see, more and more projects, Facebook allowing ads, and Instagram as well about crypto. So there's definitely, I think, a space for these ad revenue, what companies want to generate. And yeah, everybody try to improve or maximize profits, right? So it's just question, is it the right way? And
Yeah,
Microsoft, I think they're big enough. I don't know if they need an extra income
revenue
stream.
center. Yeah, for sure. All right, so moving on in terms of growth, one area that a lot of people are looking at, and we've seen this kind of with the bridge of these, activity apps and, move and earn type approaches. Also, you have various companies that are also looking at, alternatives as to what the metaverse might be. One is Outside, which has been a magazine and a media company for outdoor activities, and it's a very sportsman style magazine, very kind of in your face type approach toward really some of the most beautiful places in the world. Now they're moving on to an NFT marketplace that would potentially go into, let's say, an AR style approach to this. Do you think AR will help bridge the gap with some of these kind of projects that are really trying to make it into Web3, or do you think this is just more of an NFT cash grab with some of these strategies that some of these companies are doing?
I think in their case, I think it's to just to add a user experience to what they build, and I believe they have a larger roadmap. I mean, they are not a startup, right? So they have, I think, well planned the step into the metaverse.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I mean, the metaverse doesn't require a million of users, right? If you want to open the metaverse for, let's say, what a lot of collections, for example, with 10,000 NFTs, living from that big community, So, and it's don't need always masses to make something successful. So I think to start and to enter it, it's definitely a right move. And we will see how they build their metaverse, because everybody's saying now at the moment, we're building metaverses. I build a metaverse. For me, the whole is a metaverse. Yeah. And then we just participating in different areas of the metaverse. So yeah, let's see what these promises metaverses will be.
I'm intrigued with this because I think in terms of whether it's media companies, I look at maybe ESPN or even Disney trying to do this with some of their theme parks and elements around that. Because when you start to bridge that gap of real world activities, whether it's AR interactivity or some sort of potential connection to your brand, which I think Outside has done a pretty interesting job. It'll be intriguing to see how NFTs are applied into this. So I'm going to be watching this one pretty closely for sure to kind of take a look at that next level. Also, obviously, we can't really talk about metaverse growth without going into Sandbox and their absolute huge raise here of 400 million, looking to raise the 400 million, and this will put them at a $4 billion valuation. Sandbox continues to do some pretty cool things here. I mean, they have continued to deliver from a game aspect, the value aspect for players, and also just the expansion of how Sandbox is growing through partnerships and so on. What would a brand like this, I mean, Mirko, you're in the business of dealing with partners at this level all the time. If you were running Sandbox right now, what would you do with $400 million? How would you
I
go
mean,
spend that?
I think it's not, the valuation is not based on 1 month or 1 year, right? So the valuation
Sure.
is would be like 5 years to 10 years max. I think that maybe in their case it's 5 years. So, and then it's basically cover the roadmap to develop the
Yep.
complete game. I think there is no more raises now happening on the
Hmm.
Sandbox side because it becomes more expensive. So you buying also now the 4 billion valuation as an investor, so. And I think, I mean, it's really like expanding technology, employees. So this is basically a forecast of what the company needs to, build their final product. So it's not that, the employees know that they're dancing in the office and they're saying, yes,
Right.
we made it. So it's really about the company expansion. So, and if a Sandbox can raise 400 million, then you see what will be actually investing into the project. So there's going to be huge down the road what Sandbox is developing. So yeah, I'm very excited about still always about Sandbox, what they're doing, and they're also in partnerships as well.
Yeah, I think that's my take on this is that I'm looking at how could I use the 400 million to grow one, the aspect around the growth of either the developers, maybe an expansion on the partnership program, or maybe even rolling into additional features and value sets that are good for the players themselves to kind of help grow that ecosystem, get more players in, all that. When you guys, so at Unix Gaming, you guys cover a lot of games, from a standpoint of the players, communities, as a, and soon to be, gaming studio. But when you look at that, the gamers themselves are always showing some interest in certain games over others. I'm kind of curious, what are you seeing as far as trends right now in some of the game players for Metaverse gaming in terms of popularity?
I mean, the play and earn games. We're still waiting for some major titles. I think the FPS or shooter is not yet. We have a few. They are limited on graphics and experience, so in-game experiences for the players. But I think that's definitely what we want because this is very competitive. It's about
Yeah,
skill, for aiming and so on. And of course, yeah, kind of the real MMORPG and with a huge open world. What is actually now opened, what been exciting for was big time studios. So they had their first access with their gold passes. So
right.
these are the games we're looking for. And there's of course fun games like Axie Infinity, turn-based card game. It's not so. It's still very competitive if you battle, but people want like nice graphics. What is the traditional standard comparing, let's say, Fortnite or Valorant with games or Battlefield, and then also in an MMORPG comparing with World of Warcraft. So we want to get in that stage, and then this is what I think the players are looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. All right, NFTs, last topic of the day here is getting into one that has exploded, and that is Moonbirds, part of the Proof Collective, which is launched by Kevin Rose. Many people know him from as the founder of Dig Nation. I mean, he was kind of one of the wonder kids out of Silicon Valley. Moonbirds launched. It was really kind of in an address to the fact that the Proof Collective became so popular so quick, and then Moonbirds really kind of flew up the charts in terms of overall value and how quickly this project went to the top of the charts. What are your thoughts on projects like Moonbirds and how NFTs are able to kind of break that ceiling to become kind of this pop culture, center that what we're seeing with them?
No, I really enjoy seeing Moonbirds, and it was really impressive. After the mint was 2.5 Ethereum, and it went. I think one day after it was the floor price went up to 20 ETH. So
Yep.
there is a lot of people, and I mean, of course, I think it shouldn't be about the money. All these collections. For someone making or minting and then selling and making maybe $100,000. Of course, that's the exciting part of minting early, being there, right? But for me, I think, and this is important, especially when you see at the moment NFT collections, because there's too many, and everybody is trying to do something. And I think everybody, the criteria is actually the team is very important. and having proof collection behind it, and Kevin, that underline that's a serious project. So that's why you can ask for let's say a 2.5 Ethereum mint, and and you can be sure that it's not a cash grab. They really want to build something. Where you see a lot of projects, they having just a roadmap. They say, okay, we want to sell 10,000 NFTs for what 0.08 or 0.1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But what they're actually doing is this like, you see many projects that are coming and going on a daily if you're a little bit in the space. So yeah, but very excited what they're gonna build. The nesting, upgrading your nest, and it's really interesting what will happen with the Moonbird. See already people spraying it just a few days after the launch, and they still have a huge trading volume the last days. So yeah, pretty excited about Moonbirds.
And I think the key here with NFTs is going to be where we start to see kind of a cream rising to the top. And what I mean by that is, either entrepreneurs that have started to focus in on crypto that are well known, or maybe they've had successes in their past. Kevin's had many startups, a variety of startups that he's kind of gone through. Obviously, he was over at Google Ventures, so he understands how the capital markets work, but really is a creative, and he always has been. So I think his uniqueness of how he's built Moonbirds and Proof Collective, I think, is kind of leaning into that. But one of the things I listened to, one of the podcasts that he was talking about, was that his whole approach toward NFTs and kind of the NFT marketplace is this idea of community. And this is something that we are starting to see rise to the forefront. We see it already kind of in the gaming sector, but definitely in the NFTs, we're starting to see this community and the utility-based aspects of it for how people are leaning within the community itself. It's almost like a custom club or a special club, so to speak, when you're one of these NFT holders. So you look at this is like, to your point, the collectors of Proof Collective, obviously very, very big into NFT collections, which kind of makes it that insider group, I guess, to a certain extent. But how can the regular person kind of participate in some of the things? I think that was the attempt with Moonbirds. Obviously, it's kind of gone crazy already with where the project is going. Do you see many more projects coming out of the gates like this?
There is a few. I mean, there's a trending one is coming up soon. It's basically someone bought the IP of the Ninja Turtles, and they done an NFT collection out of that. So, and they opened their Twitter, I think, end of February, and they have over 100,000 followers already. So these projects are interesting. So you see more high quality projects, and they're going to be always stand out. So I really like to see that.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, listen, always fun chatting with you, Mirko. Again, thanks again for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Paul. See you next time.
All right, so you guys are tuned in on the podcast right now, Metaverse Insider. Make sure and catch our other podcast, which is Tech Path Crypto. Also, the big thing that you want to do if you're coming in on the video here, which is on YouTube, is catch us here and get in on the Diamond Circle. The Diamond Circle is one of the best places where you'll catch a lot of this kind of AMA and a lot of our insider alpha stuff that we deliver twice a week in our emails. And of course, you do get a chance to also get into some of the uniqueness around what we do here at PBN. So make sure and join in. Just click the link below. If you want to catch me out on Twitter, it's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on Metaverse Insider.